What's up guys, it's B4 Flex, and I'm going to explain to you why genetics aren't everything.
B4 Flex.
Right now, genetics are a big thing. People believe that genetics are the making or breaking of an athlete, right? And it's kind of valid to some degree, but not really. Now, this all started because, of course, people have unrealistic body expectations. They really want to look like certain people, certain bodybuilders, or they want to do what certain people do. And the truth is, we can't all run like Usain Bolt. Now, you guys know that I do know that genetics are valid. I already have a video on the role that genetics play in building muscle, alongside a video explaining black genetics. I do want to say I did want to do a video about other races and their genetics and different sports genetics and so forth. However, the black genetics video, I spent a lot of time researching, working on the video, recording and editing that video, and I didn't get a lot of results for the hard work I put in. So that's why I've not done another long video like that. Anyway, back to genetics. There's no doubting that genetics are valid, and there's proof of that in your hair color, your skin color, your eye color, your height, your beard growth, if and when your hairline is going to recede, and so forth. But of course, there is a limit of genetics. There's a limit of how far it takes you, and of course, there's a limit of how far behind it puts you to begin with. Personally, I believe genetics is around 30 to 40% of a good physique and a strong physique or a strong body or whatever abilities you're able to have. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So I'm a West African descendant, Ghanaian to be specific. And if you see my video on black genetics, then you know what I'm talking about, right? So at school, I'm talking in kindergarten in Norway, I was the strongest, the fastest kid, the highest jumper and so forth. Same thing in junior school in Norway, the same thing. Came to the UK, in the primary school in the UK, yeah, again, the fastest kid, the highest jumper, strongest and so forth. Secondary school, the same thing. There was actually a couple of people that beat me, but I ended up beating them by the end. There was one person though who was on par with me, had the same genetics. Actually crazy. He was actually West African as well and Ghanaian. It was crazy. So you know what, me and that other guy were the only two that were both quick, high jumpers and muscular and strong all at once. You know what I mean? Like in our school, that we were the only two that were like that. There was people that were quick, people that could jump high or were strong and muscular and so forth, but not all four of those things. So we were the only two, and that was out of my whole school. That was way more than 1,000 students. So if you're talking about good genetics, that's the top 1% of genetics. That's more than the top 1%. That's like 0. something percent. I don't know, 0.1%, something like that. So it's really good genetics, right? I'm gonna be honest. However, I put a lot of hard work into my body, and what I mean by that is from the age of 9 years old, guys, I started training. From the age of 9 years old, I started. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I would just, run around, jump. I was doing a lot of jumping training and so forth. Didn't exactly know what I was doing. I wasn't doing it the best way, but I did some form of training, right? At 12 years old, I started waking up early. I would say around 6 o'clock. It started off at 4 o'clock, but I wasn't that crazy, so I changed that to like 6 o'clock, and I would train an hour before school and an hour after school. I didn't completely know what I was doing, but I was conditioning my body through training. And I continued to train an hour before school and an hour after school. That was 2 hours a day. During summer, it was more like 3+ hours a day, 3 to 5 hours a day. No joke. And when I turned 14, it became even more. So before school, I'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I trained 2 hours before school. And then I'd go to school, go to the school gym. I used to sneak to the school gym before I was allowed to, come back home and I'd finish my training off. That was 3 to 4 hours of training every day. And the same thing happened as I grew older. When I was 15 and when I was 16, it started to become just 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. I stopped pushing myself too much, but it was still 2 hours a day. And then of course I did my hiatus where I lost all my gains, but I got back into it, right? But so you can see that there was a lot of hard work that went into my physique and my abilities. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you, the reason I'm explaining this is because even though I have such good genetics, it still took a lot of hard work to get there. And believe it or not, I never actually believed I had amazing genetics while I was putting all the work in. You get it? If I didn't believe I had good genetics and I decided to not work out or not to train, I would have never actually got to my full potential. I mean, yeah, again, I've got a family with the same genetics, right? Pretty similar genetics. They don't look like me, and nor can they do what I can do because I put a lot of time into training. And the reason I'm saying this is because I want to motivate you guys. So if you feel like you don't have good genetics, don't let that limit you. you know, because a lot of hard work is necessary to reach your genetic limit. And secondly, a lot of you guys have way better genetics than you actually know. The chances of you watching this channel, being into what I'm into, right? Actually finding this channel and being into fitness, you probably have decent genetics. Most people who don't have good genetics, who are into, you know, brainy stuff, computers and so forth, probably aren't watching this video right now or aren't interested in learning how to do one-arm pull-up and so forth, right? If you were into sports growing up, you probably have decent genetics already. And I can say that because myself, I've never been good with computers. I've never been good with any kind of machinery, something. I don't know what to do. I got a car and I don't know what to do when my car breaks down, right? And it's because I was never good at it. So I never really ventured into it. So if you ventured into fitness, more than likely you have good genetics. Unless you're doing it just to impress people, then maybe that's not the case. But more than likely you have decent genetics. But that's not the point. The point is, regardless, even if you have terrible genetics, it's gonna take you a lot of time to get to your genetic limit. So don't just count yourself out simply because you feel like you don't have good genetics. Work hard. Don't let your genetics be an excuse, because good genetics or bad genetics, you will get far as long as you put in hard work. I used this illustration before and I'm gonna use this again. A good artist is a good artist no matter what your equipment is. Listen, I'm not good at drawing, so you can give me all kinds of coloring pens, coloring pencils, paint brushes and whatever. I'm still not gonna be able to draw an amazing picture. But Picasso, all you need to do is give him chalk and he will draw an amazing picture. It shows that the hard work is necessary. It's not just what you have at the table, for example, your genetics. It's the hard work, what you make of it. So don't count yourself out because of your genetics. Don't count somebody else out because of their genetics, because it's gonna take a while to get to your genetic limit. Don't let your genetics be an excuse. They are valid yet again. You're likely not gonna beat Usain Bolt's record unless you have amazing genetics. You're not going to grow super tall unless you have height genetics. Neither are you going to be, you're not going to have blue eyes if you don't have blue eye genetics. You know what I'm saying? You can put contacts in, but you know what I mean, right? The point is, genetics are valid, but don't let them be an excuse. I'm done. Subscribe.
Beef with flex.